Hi everyone, I wanted to do a quick video showing you some tips and tricks to help you with MLA formatting. I know some of you may be unfamiliar with MLA formatting, maybe you've worked with APA or Chicago Manual Style or different formats, but for our class when we're working with English topics and literature, we're going to be using MLA formatting or Modern Language Association formatting. And really what it comes down to is I want you to be able to know where to find these resources so that you can put your paper together and cite your information appropriately for the class. So I wanted to show you how to format your paper, where to find some resources, and hopefully get you set up to focus more on writing and analyzing than stressing about formatting. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. I'm going to show you a way to use some of the templates that you might be familiar with or not in Google Docs as well as Word Docs. So I'm just going to move that over a little bit. So if you go over to your Google Docs, your little waffle up in the corner, the right-hand corner, you'll see where it says Docs. Now, instead of choosing a blank doc, we're actually going to use one of the templates. Now, the template isn't perfect, but I can show you how to kind of make it work for us. It gets you way further in formatting than starting from scratch. So I think that's really helpful. Now, I'm going to choose one of the starter templates, and usually there's 5 that are listed at the top, 5 or so that are listed up there next to the blank ones. And one of them that we're going to use is called Report, and then below it, it says MLA. So it says Report, then MLA. There's a couple different reports in there, but we want to focus on the one that says MLA. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And follow along. If you want to stop the video and open up a document, feel free to do that, or you can refer back to this every time you format your paper. I don't mind. Again, I'd rather focus on the content of your paper than have you stress about the formatting. So you'll notice that we have what's called a heading at the top where you put your name, the teacher's name, the class, and the date. You'll also notice in the upper right-hand corner a page number. So we're going to work with some of these components to get you started. So of course you start with your name. And for our class, you can just put Mrs. Parmentier, or you can call me Mrs. P. I don't mind. Either way, it's okay with me. My high school students have a hard time pronouncing Parmentier, and some of my college students have too, so they just call me Mrs. P, and I don't mind that at all. Our subject, this is where we can put our class name. So depending on which class you're in at the time, you would change the class name. For our particular class, it's ENBL 232. You can also put American Lit too if you want. I don't mind either way. I'm not a real big stickler on that as long as you're putting a reference to which class it is. That actually helps me and you identify which class this paper is for. So we're going to take a look at the date too. So the date for this one, for MLA formatting, you might notice it's a little bit different. We don't need punctuation. Normally when we do a date, we put it in as March 14th, 2011. And we did comma in between the numbers, the 14 and the, or 2000, did I say 2011, 2021? Goodness, I went back in time a little bit, don't mind me. So normally we put a comma between the day and the year, but the way the MLA formatting does it, we don't even need any punctuation. So we're going to go ahead and put the date in here. And notice how we spell out the month name. So we put the month name as March. And then 2021. Still can't believe it's 2021. Apparently I'm in 2011. Don't mind me. It's been a long day. It's just started. All right, up in the right-hand corner, you'll see that we have what's called a header. Now, the template, when it was created, they inserted a page number so it would paginate from one page to another. So it would say 1, 2, 3, and so on. So that way you don't have to type it in every time. But what it's missing, what they missed here is your last name. So you're going to just go ahead and put your cursor before the number 1 and double click it really fast to open up the header box. We're going to put your last name in there. Now you're actually going to put your name in there and put a space. So if your last name is Smith, you would put Smith 1. And what it's going to do, and you can click on your regular text, is it's going to say Smith 1, Smith 2, Smith 3, so on and so forth. So that way you don't have to mess with that. Normally we do double spacing. And if you notice, everything is already double spaced except where between the title and the header. So I always tell students just take that up just to make sure that we have double spacing. We're going to put the title right in the middle. So everything is uniform. We don't need extra spaces in there. I'm not sure why they did that with the template, but I always tell students, you know, the template is a really good place to start, and we just kind of clean it up a little bit. All right, so the title, you can have fun with your title. You can be as creative as you want. I'm not a real big stickler on titles. If you want to name it something simple like Unit 1 essay, you're welcome to do that, or you can get creative and fancy. I always, you know, enjoy seeing what you guys come up with, you know, getting those creative juices flowing. But again, I don't want you to stress about it. So if you want to be creative, you can, but it's okay to have just a general one in there. So I also tell students to ask their instructor, what do you prefer as far as formatting, and what do you prefer as far as a title and things like that? And so it's better to ask, because sometimes, you know, I've run across instructors who, you know, want certain details in there for specific reasons that are specific to their class, for example. So I always tell students, just ask. And I try and make these little tutorial videos to let you know what I'm expecting. So that way, before, you know, it gets time to hand in that paper, you already have an idea of that. I'm hoping, at least. And you can always ask questions too. So you'll notice that they put in some lorem ipsum dolor filler text. It isn't any language at all. It's actually just filler text that they use for templates and websites to show you what an actual text would look like. So you would actually start your paper here. This is where your introduction would go. I just want to point out a few different things though. It is indented. Each paragraph is indented to tell it apart, because again, we only use double spacing for this. So we tell our paragraphs apart by the indenting. Now our template puts in some section headers. The papers we're writing are only going to be around 3 to 5 pages minimum, and that's usually where they fall for student writing for a class like this. Now, can you have more pages? Absolutely. Around 3 pages double spaced, that usually gets you, you know, the right amount of information minimum. Usually anything, you know, below 3 pages, you might not be explaining things as well. So we'll talk about that when we take a look at your drafts. So we don't need section headers. We don't have a really long paper. We don't need a part where it says conclusion or anything like that. So we can take out all of those headers and subheaders. For our particular class, we don't need that. We're okay with that. Now, it might be useful if, you know, when you get into some of your major classes where you're writing longer pieces and things like that. So when you were using APA, you might have used headings and subheadings and things like that. So there are different purposes for having those. For our particular class, we don't need headings or subheadings for these papers. It does show you, and I like this on the template, it does show you how to do in-text citations. And I'm going to show you a great resource for that too. This particular in-text citation has the author's last name, and it says ETAL period and then 14. So the ETAL tells me that there's more than 2 or 3 authors in there. So there's a big list of authors. MLA says you just put the first one in there along with the page number. So it does show you a little bit of in-text citations in there and so on and so forth. So We will be using in-text citations whenever you quote from a work. All of the pieces that we put together in here, it's going to be your thoughts and analysis using third-person point of view, because we want to focus on the literature and the author in the time period, and what connections we can kind of put together and surmise from that. We can infer certain things. So it will be your ideas backed up with proof from the actual literature. So you'll be quoting from the literature, but that's the only thing you should quote from is the literature. We don't need outside sources or anything like that. What you'll be doing is you'll be quoting from the actual pieces of literature. I always like to put that in there. If it's a longer piece or a poem, you quote lines of poems in a different way, and I can show you some of that stuff as we get into the works a little bit later. But you can also look it up on some great resources I have for you, some websites. Don't forget that the Writing Center, and up above in the class, I put in some tutorials on how to find the Writing Center, links, how to find the Tutoring Center. Our online Tutoring Center, Smart Thinking, can help you with all of that stuff too. So you have a multitude of resources at your disposal. Now, the last page of your paper is going to be the works cited page. And again, we bump it down to its own page. We give it a title, works cited, which again is a little bit different than what you maybe have worked with APA, where you had your reference page. We just call it works cited in MLA. Notice how each of the sample citations, we can tell them apart because the citation begins when it is all the way left aligned. So see how it's left aligned here? I know that these two lines go together because there's what's called a hanging indent. So we indent the second, the third, or the fourth lines of that particular citation to show that all of that information goes together. And you can tell that this one goes together too, because again, we have that hanging indent. Okay. So that's the basic Google Doc template. Now I also wanted to show you the Word doc template. So let me go here. So when you first open up Word, you probably have an online version, or if you have an older version, you'll still have templates. When you go to open up a new document, up at the top, there's some templates there. Now you might have MLA style paper up there. I have it saved in mine because I show students all the time. If you don't, just click on the little part where it says more templates. And you can actually just type in MLA formatting or just MLA. And a lot of times it will search and pull up different formats. Now there's an MLA style research paper, and then there's just an MLA style paper. Either one of them will suit our purposes. And we just go ahead and create. And you're going to see some similar features to the Google Doc, except the Word doc actually has where it says last name in there. So again, you just double click for the page number. You can put your last name in there. If your last name is Smith, you can put Smith there and it will say Smith 1, Smith 2, so on and so forth. Again, we have the heading information. The only difference with this template is that it doesn't do the sample date for you. So I'm going to put the sample date in here for you. So we put the day first, today's the 14th. Then we have March, and then for the month, and then the year 2021. Again, you put your name at the top, and your heading only goes on the first page. That's why we have your last name and page number to tell which paper goes with which person. So we don't need the list of 4 things there on every page. We just put that on the first page. And then we have the instructor's name. Again, you can put Mrs. Carmen here or Mrs. P. Okay. The course number, again, ENGL 32. So this one, again, you can put a fancy title, you can put a general title, I don't mind. Either way, this one actually has some information in here. Instead of the sample text stuff, it actually has information in here about MLA formatted research papers. So a lot of the similar information that we work with for literature, a lot of the information is similar, I should say. You'll notice that for research, they're inserting tables and pictures and things like that. We're referencing literature. So we still want the author's last name and page number in the in-text citation. If there is no author, which all of ours have authors, you would put in the title, but for all of our works, we have authors, luckily. And then you just put in the page number. No punctuation needed. You'll notice that MLA formatting is very simplistic. Everything is double spaced, everything is uniform, Times New Roman font, 12-point font, all the same. Now, one thing, I'm not sure why they did this. They put the title on the left side for the works cited page. We're just going to move that to the middle just to make it uniform. The one thing I like about the Word document template is it actually tells you what to put into the citation. And because we are working with our textbooks, we can reference these books and the works from them pretty simple, in a simple format. Now, if you don't have your textbook yet and you are finding works from, let's say, Mark Twain or Emily Dickinson, let's say you find them online, you would cite that information for where you actually found it. It's okay if you use online resources, maybe you want to save a little bit of money, or you haven't ordered your book yet, you can still find all of these works in the library and online. So I wanted to let you know that there are other ways to find the literature. If you're panicking about the books, just always email me, ask questions. I'm happy to help you with that. All right, so that's our template. Our two templates, I should say, the Word template and the Google Docs template. Depending on which one you use, you still have samples in there. So let's see, let me close out of these. Close out of that one too. All right, so we've got our Google Doc over here. I'm also going to put a link into the MLA formatting lesson along with the video and everything for the online writing lab at Purdue University, or OWL at Purdue. You might have used this in the past. It's a great resource. A lot of high schools use it because the writing lab at Purdue is run by students, staff, and faculty, and they generally do a really good job explaining formatting. And again, when it comes to formatting, I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I have to memorize all this stuff. No, I just want you to know where to find the information. You can find the information in the library. There are books on MLA formatting. You can go on to websites. This website is one of my favorites because it has a lot of great resources, not just for MLA formatting, but for APA formatting and some resources too. If you struggle with things like comma usage or sentence structure, they actually have some practice stuff in here. So I really like the site overall. It's pretty good. Now I'm going to put a link in that takes you directly to MLA formatting, but you'll notice it has the different things at the top. You can search the website. You can go to specific things about research if you're ever in need of research help. But you can also use the tools on the left too, the little tabs that you can work through. There's an MLA part, there's an APA part, there's all kinds of fun information. How do you cite a book? How do you set up your paper? They give sample papers in here as far as for formatting and things like that. It also talks about how do you cite specific things? That's one of the things I really like. I can use the quick links. Let's say I'm citing the textbook. How do I cite the textbook? I just go over to that link and it gives me some basic information. What do I put in each part? It even gives me a sample for a basic book with one author. If it has more than one author, you can put it in there too. So it has all these great resources available to you. So I'm going to add the link for this website right into the, I'll put it together a little lesson for you guys. I'm hoping you find this really helpful. If you have any questions, if there was something that I didn't cover that you really weren't sure about, please reach out. I'm happy to help you over email, phone, or we can set up a Teams or a Zoom meeting and I can share my screen with you and help you from there. Always happy to help. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would much rather have you ask than be confused. And happy formatting. I hope it is happy and I hope it's not stressful. Approves too. He's all tired out from formatting. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now. Please let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you need any help with anything. And I will see you in the discussion board. And I'm really looking forward to talking about the literature and your papers. So have a good day and I'll see you in the discussion board.